Hey, what's up, peoples? How are you guys doing? It's Dawnna St. Louis here. I have been having a hell of a time with Facebook today. Seriously. So my first Facebook Live, it cut me off like 3 times. We ended up recording and re-recording and recording and re-recording. It drove me absolutely bonkers. What's up, John? But you know what? I am so stubborn. I was like, no, we're doing this. I don't care. Let's go. So I get really stubborn and belligerent when things don't go my way. So anyway, the other day I did, hey, Michael, hey, John, how you guys doing? The other day I did this thing called Ask the $1 Million Entrepreneur. And people asked me questions and I wrote them down. And I answered some of them, but I picked out the top 7. There were probably about, I don't know, it seemed like a million questions, but I picked out the top 7. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me, now is the best time in the world to ask me in regards to entrepreneurship or business, or I don't know what color sheets are on my bed. I really don't care. All right. And I might even share a story with you that John told me today, which really blew me away. So the first question is, and this is probably my favorite. No, it's not my favorite. Are you comfortable with failure? That's question number 1. Are you comfortable with failure? And the answer to that question is no. I'm absolutely not comfortable with failure at all. No, we're not friends. We don't hang out. I don't invite over for dinner. No. However, with that said, what I am very comfortable with is changing direction instantly. So when I start heading a direction and I want to do something and things don't work out with that direction I'm going, I'm very comfortable with leveraging what I have, let go of what didn't work, and keep moving the same way, right? So I learn those lessons and then I move quickly to continue forward momentum. To me, failure is a full stop. It is, this didn't work, we have to completely chuck it. And the reason I'm so uncomfortable with that is that I think time is extremely valuable. And I know people go, boy, what about the lessons learned? If I learn the lessons and I can leverage them elsewhere, then I'd probably be okay. But I really do get stink about wasting time. And so I feel like a failure is a full stop, that you really didn't learn anything, that you wasted your time, that you didn't get anything out of it. And I'm so uncomfortable with that. I mean, one of the things that just drives me nuts is when people waste my time. The second question is, did I always have a vision? No. My first business, even though it was very, very, very successful, when we started out, we did not have a vision at all. In fact, our vision statement didn't even come up until we were doing business for probably about 3 years. And then we had a vision, and that was only based on the business that we were doing, right? So we were saying we predict the future of business. That came up because that's what other people said about us. So it wasn't that we had a statement, it was that somebody else came up with that statement. And so that's what, that's what we used. Number 3. Oh, what, I like this one. What gets on your nerves? Like, what really, really gets on your nerves? What is that your pet peeve? My pet peeve, for sure, no questions asked, is complacency. I cannot stand complacency. I hate it when people take information, they don't use it, that they don't move forward. It is one of the things that drives me nuts, that people are just so like, they just let things lie and linger and lay back. I cannot stand it. So that drives me absolutely nuts. My phone is blowing up, by the way. That's what you hear in the background. Number 4, do you really have a work-life balance? So this came up because a lot of people see me online. They see me doing things like I'll be out. I was just on the Hudson actually this weekend tubing, and then I've been in caverns, or they'll see me, petting baby goats and deers, and they want to know if that's real. That's very real. I usually work until, I usually start my day sometime around 7 or 8 o'clock. I end promptly around 5:30. It's rare that I actually work past 5:30. So I usually work until 5:30. I rarely work on the weekends at all anymore. And I used to, I don't anymore. So I generally do an 8 to 5:30 Monday through Friday type of thing. And that, I know it's going to sound crazy, but that might include going and getting my nails done or getting my hair done, or, but I make sure that my business is done first. And I don't mean the busyness. I mean, the business development of my business is done first. So I really do have a very, very good work-life balance. Entrepreneurs get so comfortable in the sitting and working at their desk 16 hours a day. I know I was one of those people. Hey, Bobby, I was one of those people. I did it all the time. And let me tell you, the one thing that you don't want to do is you do not want to get in the habit of just sitting at your desk and making that a thing. You really want to get in the habit of getting up and living your life. I mean, the point of having this whole thing is that we really want to be able to live a life. We want to have a lifestyle business, and you can't have a lifestyle business if you're just in front of your computer all the time. You have to get up and actually live your life. And so I'm really big on the work-life balance. It wasn't always. There had to be some significant changes in my life for that to happen, but now I'm very big on it. And I'll actually say that my friend Michael actually really helped me with that. Really helped me on finding that balance. He used to tell me all the time, he's like, you shouldn't be in front of your computer all the time. He goes, and I don't care if you're not doing anything, but you just shouldn't be sitting there constantly. And so that was really a big change for me, just to give that a shot. And when I did, by the way, now I won't go back. Number 5, what are your strengths, superpowers, and weaknesses? So my strength is I have an amazing ability. Well, I'll use StrengthsFinder. So I'll use that. That's probably the best one. So my 5 strengths, if I look at StrengthsFinder, are communication, strategy, influence, which I think is woo, ideation, and competition, right? So those are my top 5 strengths. If I talk about my superpower, so my superpower is really, it comes with that ideation, but it's my ability to see what other superpower is. So I could tell you and putting things together. So I can talk to someone and they'll tell me, you know, whatever it is about themselves. And I'll go, oh my gosh, so this is your expertise. Here's your target market. Here's like, you can give me a little bit of information and I can expand it and create a complete universe in regards to your expertise. It's one of the things that I bring to the table, even when I'm working with people, especially when they go through the Biz on Fire Discovery or Jumpstart. One of the things, the first things we do is we talk about your expertise and understanding what your expertise is. And where people get stuck with that, usually for me, I can see it. I can just see what people's golden needle in the haystack is. And my weaknesses. Okay, so my weakness is that I lack patience. And so let me be really, really clear about this. I do, it's going to sound odd when I say it, I do not lack patience with stupid people. So if I think you're dumb, if I think you're dumb, I'm really, really super ridiculously over the top patient. But if I think you're smart or I think you know better, then I'm like, okay, you're just toying with me or you're just being lazy. And so I would say that's my weakness, because I get impatient when I think that, because I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going, come on, you know. Now, if somebody doesn't get it, so I shouldn't say if they're dumb. If somebody doesn't get it, especially the first or second time I'm going over something, I have all the patience in the world, because I realize this is a very new concept. It's something they don't know. And I really take my time and I go out of my way to simplify things. But if I think you get it and you're just being lazy and you're not doing it, I totally lose my patience. Like I have no patience for that. All right, number 6. And if you guys have questions, please ask me. What is the most valuable asset in your business? I know people always say this and it sounds so corny, but it is also very true. It's people. And when I say that, my weakness is asking for help. That is true. My weakness is asking for help. I'll help anyone, but yes, I rarely ever ask for help. I ask you for help, Michael, so whatever. But there's a reason that I don't ask people for help, because talk about that later. Anyway, yeah, that is one of my weaknesses. I don't ask for help, and I do lack patience, but they go hand in hand, right? When people ask me for help, if you pick up the phone and you call me, the chances of me answering the phone are very, very good. The chances of me getting back to you are very, very good. You just need to know what you're calling me for. Like, people just calling me random out of the blue. If they want to call and say hello, I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're calling me and you want help, like, know what it is that you want to. And I get people all the time that text me and go, can you help me with X? And I'm like, call me. I'm good with that. But on the other end, if I ask people for help, it's usually like, well, I'll get back to you in 2 or 3 weeks, or they don't get back to me at all, or I have to send a reminder. And so that frustrates me. And so then, of course, I lose patience. All right. Number 6 is, what's the biggest asset in my business? The biggest asset in my business is people, but it's very specific people, right? So for example, Michael is really good, as you can see from his comments, Michael is really good about challenging me, right? So I love people around me who will challenge me. Those are the best people that are around me, people who will challenge me. I really don't like people who, and I shouldn't say I don't like, I don't want to be surrounded by people who are just like, yeah, everything you said is just brilliant and great and blah, blah, blah. I want people to challenge me, and I want it to be challenged in a good debate format where we can talk about, okay, how do we get to this, to the next level? Not to challenge me just for argument's sake. Like, there are people who just play devil's advocate to play devil's advocate, and that gets on my nerves. But people who challenge you in order to move you to the next level, I love that. I love people who are going to challenge me to get me to the next level. I don't like people who are just going to be just challenge, just devil's advocate for devil's advocate's sake. I think if you're going to be a devil's advocate, like, the goal is really to get the person to think a little differently. And if you're not doing that, then what are you doing it for? Just to have an argument? Like, I don't like that. If you guys have questions, go ahead. This is the last question that I was asked, so I'm going to go with this one. And the last one is number 7. Who do you refuse to work with? That's kind of funny because we always talk about target markets. People always talk about target markets in marketing. And I do this whole thing about the anti-target markets, people who I absolutely will not work with, right? And so I honestly don't work with people who don't have, I'm going to say, similar values. And I don't mean like, Republican versus Democrat or something like that. But for example, I have a very hard time working with people that lack diversity of even friendships. Like, they're like, I only work with, Black people, or I only work with white people. Like, they're not racist, but they're almost a little bigoted or prejudiced, and they lack the diversity, which to me a lot of times causes people to lack the diversity of thought. They really don't have an open mind. And what I find is, so I guess the people who I don't work with really don't have an open mind, because when I do a lot of teaching. And so as a person who does a lot of teaching and coaching, I'm constantly teaching people to have an open mind. And if they don't have an open mind, I don't know how they're going to take in that information. Okay, so the question that Michael asked me was, who would you want to have dinner with and why? Ooh, okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. So the person who I'd want to have dinner with and why. Jessica, are you laughing at me? So I know it's like, I would initially, of course, like, Elon Musk is going to have my children. Like, he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to have my babies, right? So that would be an easy one. Wait, do they have to be alive? Because if they don't have to be alive, this is a much easier answer for me. So I would say, I would kind of say Elon Musk. I would kind of say, like everybody would say Oprah. I would kind of say Oprah only because she and I are very similar spiritual. We are very similar on a spiritual level. But if I could pick anyone, dead or alive, it would be Da Vinci. And the reason is, one of Da Vinci's strengths was ideation, and it's also one of my strengths. And it's just so intriguing to me to sit with someone who is so strong from an ideation perspective, where he can see this thing and he can connect the dots to it and he can make it into this thing. That is something I do all the time. And it's kind of cool to be, I think it would be cool to be around someone who does it on a level, on such a grand level of even imagining things that aren't even here. I think about that all the time. I think about the things that we do that we find absolutely positively annoying to cause us to have more convenience, and how we don't turn these things into inventions, right? And so I'll give you an example of ideation. A lot of times when people have their conditioners or shampoos in the shower, especially if you have one of those tall bottles and the top is at the top, we always flip it over and have it sit that way so we can get the most out of the bottle, so we don't leave 20% at the bottom. And they're actually designed, by the way, for us to leave that 20% at the bottom. I think that I thought this like 25, 30 years ago, that all bottles should be designed upside down so that your product is all the way at the bottom at all times. I still think that. And I know now they're doing it on some things, but it really should be. So that's the type of ideation, right? So I do more of a physical ideation, but Da Vinci did ideation, whereas he would see like a bird and then say, well, why can't man fly? Like he would do that level. I'm not there. I just don't think he and I have done the same amount of drugs. And so maybe if I did the same amount of drugs that he did, I would get there. All right. So that's all I got. If you have a question, go ahead and ask me. And I'll just tell you really quickly, am I comfortable with failure? Hell no, we're not friends, not hanging out. Did I always have a vision? No, I didn't always have a vision for my business. In fact, I'll tell you that Biz on Fire is the only business that I went into that business with a vision. And I will tell you, because it is so close to my heart. It is the last business that I will build in my life. It is the vision that it is a business that will be my legacy. It is the business that, quite honestly, will have the greatest impact on this world. And that's why Biz on Fire is the one that I have a vision for. What gets on my nerves, I already told you, complacency. Do you really have a work-life balance? Yes, I really, 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 really do. And I get it by making sure that my butt is out of, like, I stopped working at 5:30 every day. And that's a lie, because sometimes I stop working earlier. What are your strengths, weaknesses, and superpowers? My strengths, again, are communication, strategy, ideation, competition. I am competitive, and winning others over. Superpowers, I have no problem. It's easier for me to find the golden needle in the haystack. I can talk to someone and tell them exactly where their expertise is and how to monetize it. That is my superpower. And my weakness, now I said that my weakness was that I lack patience. And Michael challenged me and said that my weakness is asking for help, which I will admit that is probably my weakness. So if you have a question, please make sure you jump in. What is the most valuable thing in my business? It's definitely, I don't know if I answered this one. The most valuable thing in my business, I see your question, Jessica, is definitely the people around me. Oh, I did answer this. The people around me that challenge me. The people that challenge my thinking are the most valuable asset in my business. People who do not challenge me, and I'm going to tell you, you have to bring why. If you can't bring a why to me, I'm not interested. If you don't know why, I'm going to be like, you don't know. But I love people to challenge me in my business. Challenge me in anything, actually. Not challenge me just to be challenging, but challenge for a reason. And who do I refuse to work with? I think people who have values that I don't necessarily agree with. So Bobby said, what was your state of mind during the lean times in business, in times where you were still working towards a goal and it gets silent? That's a good question. So here's the thing. And I told you guys about this before. So there's this show called Naked and Afraid. It's one of my favorite. It has always been one of my favorite shows, because I'm not a major TV watcher. I definitely don't watch network TV. It's like one of the things that I cannot really stand network TV, because I just feel like my IQ depletes for every minute that I watch it. But I do watch Naked and Afraid because I learn things. I'm like, oh, let's go and use a bow drill to start a fire. Like, that's me after I watch Naked and Afraid. Like, let's go do that. So if I see something on TV, I want to try it. But there was this guy on Naked and Afraid, and I'm not kidding you. So you're there in the wilderness for 21 days naked, and you got to figure out how to feed yourself. And so the girl on there, and it's always a guy and a girl, and this girl on there, like, she's out there with a bow and arrow, and you know, she done built a bow and arrow from like her hair and like bamboo, and like, she's just amazing, right? And she goes and gets the bow and arrow, and she comes back and she kills things, and she has a fire, and she's cooking things. And this guy's going, I just can't eat meat. I can't eat anything with a face. And so like the third day in, he starts, you know, he's been eating like berries and stuff like that. But the third day in, he really starts complaining about these bad stomach cramps. Like dudes start just like bending over in total pain, talking about, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. And she's like, well, here, have some of this lizard ass. And he's like, no, I can't eat that. I can't eat that. And so like, he has his standards. And I'm not knocking man for having standards. He got standards. So right about the fifth day, he's just standing up, and there's a rock that right here. And he goes, bam. I mean, he just falls on the rock. Like, you see him bounce on TV. In fact, they played it in slow motion, and he bounced on TV. And so I'm like, they called in a medic. Medic came and looked at him. His pulse was fine. His heart rate was fine. His breathing was fine. And they said, oh, yeah, you know what? You hungry. You should eat. Like, seriously, you should eat. And because he wouldn't eat, his ass ended up going home on day 5 out of 21. Like, what the hell? It's not like he didn't eat because there wasn't food. There was food. He was, he's like, I got these standards. Okay, then why did you come on naked and afraid? Did you really think you're going to get 21 days in on nuts and berries? So during those lean times, I am a believer in do not sully your brand, but be more innovative and do what you have to do in order to make sure that you can survive, right? I tell people all the time, sometimes you might have to get a job and put money aside, because a lot of times when I find that entrepreneurs have failed is because they haven't put enough startup capital aside. They haven't done the things they were supposed to do to ensure that they could do their business. So I think during those lean times, I'm not saying do things to be desperate, like don't do desperate things, but do things that show off your value still, right? So let's say I'll use my own business, Biz on Fire. So of course we have the Jumpstart program. The Jumpstart program is 9 months. It's $18,500. And when we first ever thought about doing Jumpstart, we were like, it's going to be really hard to get that filled up. Granted, right? We kind of knew that. So what did? We did a bunch of pop-up webinars. We say, here's a webinar we're doing for $99. Here's another we're doing for $99. Here's what we're doing. So we would do these pop-up webinars or pop-up locations or pop-up. So we did pop-up meetings in order to start to fill in the funnel and let people know what we are, right? So you don't have to work for free. So even during those lean times, you can do things that will still provide value and bring in income without necessarily compromising the integrity of you as a business person, right? So it's just, you might have to do more things more often for a lower price until you can build that up. So that's one thing that I say during those lean times, but try not to be desperate. And let me tell you, and I do get frustrated. I'm telling you, when I put out something and I'm like, I'm putting out this value and people aren't paying attention and I got to tell you, Jessica and I just talked about that yesterday. And when that happens, I get super ridiculously crazy frustrated, just like everybody else. But what I've done now is I've done things so I don't have that feast and famine roller coaster all the time. Here's the other thing. There's a difference between having a speaking business and having a business, or being a speaker and having a business. So I leverage being a speaker to help me fund my business. So you also have to think about what are some of the things that you're doing, one to fund the other, right? So you want to do those things. So yeah, I can tell you my state of mind, I was still a go forward, like I ain't gonna give up. Like even today, and this will just show you who I am. Even today, Facebook went down on us like 3 times when we tried to do our live streams. It went down like 3 times. And I was like, no, I don't care. We are going to do this. We'll just keep doing it. We are not giving up. But that's my attitude when things get hard. When things get hard, I'm like, no, go for it. Jessica asked me, why have you started a podcast yet? So I'm going to put Jessica on blast. Jessica is my social media diva. And the reason I say she's my social media diva is because she tells me what to do. And then I go and do it. And so one of the things that we talked about a while ago was a podcast. And I mean, for the life of me, I was like, I do not want to do a podcast. But you have to understand that what I really didn't want to do, and she was really good in finally getting to the why. What she really started, what she really understood was the reason that I didn't want to do a podcast wasn't that I didn't want to do a podcast. I didn't want to do that format. And the format that I didn't want to do, and I know I'm going to insult a whole lot of people right now, is I did not want to do, number one, talking into the echo chamber, where I just get on a podcast and I'm like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And you just talking to people and nobody's there. I hate that. Right? I hate that. I prefer interactive stuff where people ask me questions. That's number one. So I hate talking into the echo chamber. Sometimes even these Facebook lives are hard. The number 2 that I didn't want is I did not want a podcast where I'm just getting an author on so I can ride their coattails and get their audience and sit around and talk about how awesome they are. And then they talk about how awesome I am. And like, everybody's just so freaking awesome. I hate those. I prefer a podcast where people come on and they ask me questions. They ask me real questions. I don't care what it is. They ask me real questions. They get real answers. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to really answer their questions and really help people move forward. Like, that's the type of podcast that I want. It is harder, I think, to get people. I think it's so much harder right now to get people to open up about being honest and vulnerable. And I recognize that because I've been there. And so the challenge that I have with doing a podcast right now is that I'm looking for people to be super crazy, ridiculously authentic with the challenges that they're having, that they can come on and they can ask a question and they can go, hey, this is where I am. This is what's not working. This is what is working. Can you help me? And I know that's hard to do because I had a hard time doing it for a long time. I do it better now, regardless of what Michael says. But one of the things that I wanted was a podcast that really helped people. And knowing that that one brave soul that comes on and asks that question and gets that help, that's actually helping like 10 or 20 or 30 people. So the reason I have not done a podcast is because I have a very hard time with speaking into the echo chamber and just doing the, back rubbing, oh, you're awesome, I'm awesome. Like, it kind of gets on my nerves. I want something that has substance. And that's because I only listen to things that deliver substance and how to, and not just what to do. All right. So if no one else has a question, if you have a question, please pop it in real quick and I will answer it. So I answered the top 7, 8, 9. I think I answered 10 questions. I think I did good. I don't know. I think I answered all 10. I did good. Nobody asked me anything crazy. So I think we're okay. But if you do have a question, any question you want to ask me in regards to business, in regards to whatever is coming up or going on, please feel free to jump in and ask me. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to remember. Jessica told me periodically you got to go and do the QA days. Okay, well, this is the QA day. That was me mimicking Jessica. So I tried to make sure I did a QA day today. So no dates. That's right. But I do try to make sure I go in periodically and do a Q&A day and ask questions. So if you don't have anything else, and if you've asked me everything that you need to know in order to be a millionaire, and you don't need to ask me anything, right? Because that's it. You got everything y'all need to be a millionaire. You're good to go. Then I'm out. Y'all have a great one. I will talk to you. Is today Friday? No, it's only Wednesday. Shit. Okay. Today's Wednesday, so I guess I'll see you tomorrow. I'm traveling on Friday. I'm going to Dallas. So I was thinking today was close, but we're not even there. All right. Talk to you guys later. Holla.